So the biggest problem that I have is being able to eat comfortably. It hurts very, very badly when I chew, and it's just all right in here. It makes you not want to eat, and you have to eat soft foods, soup, yogurt. I can't open my mouth very wide, so it just makes what you can eat much more limited. With not being able to eat, it comes and goes, and it has for about 10 years, but it's progressively gotten worse over about the last 4 to 5 months. So when I'm eating, it can be about a 9 or more depending on what I'm trying to eat. If it's like a sandwich or something like that, or if it's even like salad, crisp salad, it can get to about a 10 and I just have to stop eating it. And then after I eat for about 2 hours, it'll just sit there and ache at about like a 5 or a 6, and then it'll slowly kind of ease away. Recently, it's been about a 5 or a 6. I've started taking some Celebrex that one of our family physicians had given me, which has really, really helped. It hasn't really helped so much with the eating, but it has helped with like the pain just sitting here talking to you. The number 2 is the neck pain. I typically get really, really tight just along the back left side of my neck, where it's really uncomfortable. You feel like you constantly need to like move your neck around, try and like pop it or something. It just feels like it's just not quite right, which is not something that is useful day to day. I'm a pharmacist, so there's a lot of looking at computers and having your neck be really uncomfortable and in pain makes it very difficult to do your job, since you are staring at a computer a large portion of the day. For most of the time, I would say the neck stays at about a 7, and then it'll kind of flare throughout the day to about a 9, and that's whenever I really have to like get up, move around, and try and like stretch my neck out, which right now it even is really, really tight right here as I move my neck back. And so you kind of have to get throughout the day moving around a little bit, which doesn't always help. A couple of years, probably 2 years or so. So the other thing I have is some upper back pain in the middle of like my shoulder blades, that it's constantly tight. I'm constantly like trying to move my back up and down, trying to, I guess, make it looser so that it doesn't feel like as constricted. I'd say it's not as severe as the jaw or the neck. I mean, it's probably the worst it gets is about a 7, but it stays at about a 5 pretty much all the time. About 3 years. Those are the biggest things that really bother me. And I've recently started to have a lot of ear pain after I eat, just like really sharp. That's only been about the last 4 weeks or so, but that's pretty new. Probably about an 8 whenever it'll flare, and I'll have to try and take some Excedrin or something to try and get it to go away. But again, it's one of those things where right after I eat, it'll really get really painful, and then after about a couple hours it'll start to subside and it'll go back down to where I don't feel anything. I feel like I'm doing a lot better. The pain in the joint itself is a lot less. That was the main issue, like with chewing and things like that, which I still haven't tested completely, but it's gotten a lot better just like at rest. The episodes of pain that I've had have been a lot shorter, and it's not as sharp as it was before. And yesterday I only had 2 episodes, so that was a big deal. Yeah, I was at work from 7 yesterday morning until like 10:15 last night, and I pretty much went the whole day pain-free. Going to rounds, sitting at the computer doing work, I didn't have any problems yesterday. It's significant, just the pain in the jaw. I'd say probably 50 to 70%. I mean, it was a lot. I would say with the neck pain, there really hasn't been a ton of change. It hasn't gotten worse, but I would say at this point it really hasn't gotten better. The pain in between my shoulder blades has gotten a little bit better. Like as a day, I'd say it's probably about a 4 as opposed to 6 before. And then just last night, I couldn't tell if it was like tightening or loosening, so I kind of slept on a heating pad for a little bit, and I was fine this morning. No, nobody noticed anything. I had to like tell a couple of my co-residents. I was like, oh, I finally got it. And they were like, oh, really? And nobody had noticed. Doing very, very well, doing a lot better. There's like no real pain like in the joint on a day-to-day basis. It was constant before we started all of this, where you'd just be in pain all the time, and then it would get even worse after you eat. But I've basically been pain-free on the day-to-day basis. The only time I had any kind of pain eating was I decided I was going to eat some carrots the other day just because that's what I wanted. And it was a little painful to eat them, so I only ate about 5. But I mean, it wasn't anything remotely near what it had been in the past, where in the past where it could have been up to like a 9, it was only maybe about a 4. Okay. So it was a lot better. It didn't last after I finished eating, which was a big improvement. I would say 90%. I mean, that being one of like maybe 2 instances in the last month where I've had some uncomfort or discomfort while eating. Yeah, it's a lot better. I don't really notice it. There's still like one little area that I like move my head in a certain direction, it's still there, but it's not nearly as severe as it could have been. It's maybe like a 1 that I'll notice maybe once a week now, and I'll notice it for maybe like 20 minutes, or generally towards like the end of the day at work. That's been a long day sitting in front of a computer. That's about it now. It used to be all the time, all day, every day, and it would just get worse towards the end of like a long day. We currently, for my job as a resident, I work 12 days on, 2 days off. So whenever you get to your double, I was always really, really uncomfortable. I would say 90%, just because I still have, during really, really long days, where it'll kind of flare just a little bit, but it's still, the degree is so much less than it used to be. I haven't noticed it at all in the last month. I mean, I used to have this constant feeling like I needed to pop in between my shoulder blades, where it was just super, super tight all the time. And that hasn't been an issue at all. On that, 100%. I mean, I haven't even thought about it, noticed it, anything. It's been awesome. I haven't really noticed anything, I would say, per se. I would say maybe I have a little bit more energy, maybe. But it's kind of hard to tell just because I'm trying to finish all of my things for residency right now. And tomorrow, the majority of that is done. I don't really know if I had actual expectations. I think when I first came in, it was like, okay, let's see what he says, basically. And I just knew I had gotten to the point where I couldn't live where I was for the rest of my life. Like, I knew I needed to do something, and I tried a couple different things in the past that really didn't give you a ton of relief, and it didn't last a long period of time. And so I just knew that I needed to do something. I think that I was hopeful that something could be done, but I really had no idea. But I mean, I'm very, very pleased with where we're at today than where we were, I guess, in February. Doing really well. My jaw pain itself has gotten a lot better. I can eat, and it doesn't really bother me. If you eat like really hard things, you can feel like kind of want to hurt, so just don't push it. Otherwise, it's good. I can open my mouth a lot wider. So I was at the airport flying up yesterday, and I live in New Orleans, and so I got a hamburger that was like a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be, and so I could actually open my mouth and bite into it, where I haven't been able to do that. I mean, since I was at least like in high school, early high school, so that's like over 10 years. It was like I could actually open my mouth and it didn't hurt, so that was kind of nice. Probably 90%. I haven't had any neck pain for several months now at all, so that's been completely gone. Yeah, I haven't had any like pain. Don't notice anything like day to day or anything like that. And I haven't had any of that for several months either. I used to constantly feel like I needed to like pop my back in between my shoulder blades, and it just never would go away, and it's like that's completely gone. So I had migraines for years since I was in high school, so probably 11 years. And progressively, as I gotten older, I would get them more and more often. And probably the 6 to 8 months before I came here, I'd had them daily. And I just didn't even think it was remotely related. I just would take Excedrin or just really constantly stay on top of it like that and just would deal with it. Take the max of Excedrin that you could take without trying to kill my liver. I think it's like you can take 4 a day or something like that. And then there would be days where you'd actually take more than that. I didn't think I ever took more than 6 in a day, but I mean, I would take it all the time. I mean, that was something whenever you would be talking to like your family, packing, like, oh, do I have everything? They would always be like, do you have the bottle of Excedrin? That was always one of the things that everyone made sure I had. I just was like, I deal with it. I mean, it was part of what I dealt with every day. I didn't think it was remotely related. You know, I just was like, okay, I have migraines and I take the Excedrin and I move on with my life. Most of the time when you're in school, they're like migraines are either vasospasm, it's vasoconstriction, vasodilation. It has more to do with like blood vessels and than anything. That's kind of what we're taught. So in my mind, knowing that had nothing to do with my jaw or anything. So I was just like, I'll just take the Excedrin and move on. I mean, I would just be like, make sure it's not your jaw. Like I've told that to multiple people that have like complained about migraines. I'm like, have you ever thought about this? I was like, because I didn't even think about it. The day after we put the bonding on the bottom,
Fixed orthotic.
On my teeth.
It's almost 6 months ago. Almost.
That was the last time that I've had a migraine since then. It was actually the last time I've had a headache since then. That was probably honestly the first thing that I noticed. I probably didn't say anything because again, I just was like, oh, it's just got better. Pretty much since I was like 16, about 6 months or so after I got my braces off, when I was in high school, I started having jaw clicking problems, primarily on the right side, and it just would pop all the time. It started being pretty painful. I talked to my dentist at home. I had a mouth guard by the time I was going into college at 18. Didn't really do much. Eventually it just kind of stopped clicking and hurting on the right. And then by the time I was up here for residency, it had started on the left and it was a lot more painful. I had started having some neck problems and some upper back issues. And I basically had lived with a migraine at that point for several years daily and just kind of thought, oh, well, you know, you're in residency, you're finishing pharmacy school, you're tired. You just have a really weird schedule, kind of attributed it all to that. But then probably in December of my residency year here, I just couldn't take it anymore. I mean, the headaches were so bad. I couldn't hardly get a spoon into my mouth because certain spoons, the divot was too deep and I couldn't open my mouth wide enough to even put a spoon in it. So I basically was subsisting on smoothies or anything that I could drink through a straw, basically. And so that was really difficult. It was really annoying. And I just was like, I can't do it anymore. And my family dentist back home knew you. And so he had said, if you start having problems, to kind of give you a call and see if there was anything that we could potentially do to fix this. When we moved to the first phase of treatment with you, like, I think I got that on May the 1st of that year, and then May the 3rd, because I have a countdown in my phone, was the last day I've had a migraine since then, 2017, so 2 years on May the 3rd. I had no idea that like my jaw, my joint could have related to the headaches. I had also had this like sticking pin in the back of my neck and in between my shoulder blades for about 2 years at that point. And within like 3 months of working with you after getting the orthotic in the first phase, like both of those went away and just kind of everything relaxed, really. It was like I had always been told like, oh, you're so tense, like if you go get a massage or something like that. And it's like since then that has not been anything that I've been told, and I haven't had any problems with my neck or my back. Sleeping is a lot more comfortable because you're not trying as hard to find a comfortable position that I was beforehand, and I didn't realize I was doing that. I also sleep through the night more, which I never slept through the night before all of this, and I think it was just because I
always felt like I wasn't in a comfortable position. And now that's not really an issue. So we decided to go the orthodontic route, and with that was the palate expander. And we did I think it was MOPS procedure where...
Roll the teeth out.
Yeah, and so I did the expander for, I guess, 6 months or so. And then at that point, I had brackets on the inside and outside of my bottom teeth, and we raised them with rubber bands to kind of put the teeth where the orthotic was so that, I could kind of keep most of my teeth. That was important, being at the time only 27, because it's a long process and it's a lot of potential long-term dental work as well. So then with that, at the end, because I had gaps, because I had permanent teeth pulled as a teenager, with the palate expander, I chose to do veneers at the end because, as I said, I was like, my teeth looked good before. I want them to look good at the end too.